And wait a minute, we are rolling on October 24th, 2017, where it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. The sunshine is shining a little bit warmly today. There's no beach breeze to cool us today, unfortunately. And Chloe is about to share with us her extemporaneous speech on the question, how will the Trump administration affect the environment? I repeat, how will the Trump administration affect the environment? And who's timing? Oh, rock and roll.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe Hemingway.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi. The environment is something that each of us take for granted every day. We breathe it, we live in it, we wouldn't exist without it. However, indisputable evidence has indicated that our environment is declining, and the current leader of our nation may be jeopardizing the state of our climate. Without proper regulations and an emphasis on environmental aid in regards to the government's policies and budget, the world as we know it may change in front of our eyes. This is an issue that will not only affect our lives, but affect the lives of our children and the environment that they will be raised, and is not something that we should be taken lightly. Today I want to answer the question of how the Trump administration will affect the environment, and my answer may be a scary reality to some and is unfortunate. That is because I believe at the current rate, the Trump administration will have detrimental effects to our environment and ultimately reverse the progress that we as a nation and as a world have made thus far. I will give you 3 reasons why I believe this is the case. The first reason why I believe that the Trump administration will negatively affect the environment is due to his proposed budget cuts. Trump has made tremendous budget cuts in the environmental aid budget. In late August of 2017, National Geographic divulged the Trump administration proposed budget cut of $1.6 billion, which is 12% of the interior budget of 2018. Trump said this is what a balanced budget would look like, but in reality, it would be cutting up to 4,000 jobs. In addition, Trump administration has already dissolved a federal advisory panel of the National Climate Assessment, which is a group of 15 members that was created to help businesses and small and local governments better understand and prepare for the next National Climate Assessment, which in turn which by law is supposed to be issued every 4 years, the next one being in 2018. In addition, the 2018 budget is said to have substantial cuts in environmental aid programs that are sought to protect air and water and in scientific research. In particular, the Environmental Protection Agency is set to see a 31% cut. My second reason why I believe the Trump administration will negatively affect the environment is due to Trump's lack of environmental enforcement. The Environmental Integrity Project has reported that in Trump's first 6 months in legislation, the Environmental Protection Agency has filed fewer lawsuits against companies who have been breaking pollution control laws than the agency had in the first several months of the Clinton, George W. Bush, and Obama administration. Therefore, the EPA under the Trump administration is embarking on a wildly different path than it had under the Obama administration. Clearly, Trump is not making enforcement a priority. In addition, the Trump administration, or Trump, is bringing members into his administration and in his cabinet who outwardly deny climate science. According to the Wall Street Journal, they have reported that the Trump administration is not requiring tougher standards in coal mining near rivers, which has set standards for emissions of methane from oil and natural gas on federal lands. The third reason why I believe that the Trump administration will negatively affect the environment is due to his withdrawal from crucial environmental programs and accords. Trump campaigned on repealing the Clean Power Plan, calling it an unfair burden to the coal administration and the economy. In addition, the Trump administration is working toward repealing the Environmental Protection Agency's rule of bringing more bodies of water under federal jurisdiction. Lastly, and most importantly, the Trump administration has made the early decision to opt out of the Paris Climate Accord. According to the Wall Street Journal in a September article, they revealed that although right now his position is flexible, and Trump takes the position that if more suitable terms come about, he will consider going back into the plan and accord. Due to his actions thus far and the words that he's been speaking, he has been boasting about his withdrawal and has called it a job-killing deal and has shown no inclination that he will revisit the option to revise the participation of the United States in the Paris Climate Accord. In summary, I have given you 3 reasons why I believe that the Trump administration will have detrimental effects on the environment. 1, because of his proposed budget cuts. 2, because of his lack of environmental enforcement. And 3, because of his withdrawal from important environmental plans.
In conclusion?
In conclusion, I believe that the Trump administration is negatively affecting our environment, and it is not something that we should be taken lightly at all. I think there should be no doubt in this room that the current state of our environment is something that we should be a high priority for all of us, and if the current leader of our nation doesn't take necessary measures to instill a positive change, we should take it upon ourselves to keep the earth alive and do what we can in our part in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. What was the time?
5 minutes and 30.
Could you get back in the center of the room, please? Yeah, thank you. Right there is perfect. Thank you. A little bit that way. Yeah, no, back that way. Yeah. What was the time?
5 minutes, 33 seconds.
5:33. Okay. Excellent. We're in the rear somewhere. Yes, let's hear from Armand 2 or 1, whatever one you are.
Hi, I'm Armand.
Hi, Armand.
I think you were very well spoken. Your projection voice was very loud and clear, so that's something I really appreciate.
Right. Okay. And there seems to be, speaking of your delivery, there seems to be, put your hands by your side, there seems to be a passion in your belief that was behind your delivery. It wasn't like you were just saying President Trump is doing bad things, but you got a passion about it, that you were a little upset about. We could feel your I don't want to say anger, but your angst, I guess is a better word. Improvement.
I am Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
That was really good. It's difficult. I just think she'd be really good. Okay, I guess. I just seemed wrong.
She was perfect.
It was like the voice is good, eye contact. Okay, maybe like a couple of times. I mean, but it was like.
You're doing
also,
fine. Just
you know,
think of something.
I guess when you transition, like, there was like a pause until like in conclusion.
Okay, good. Thank you, Pauline. Chloe, yeah. You had a great passion for your topic, and you feel strongly about this topic. You're a very good actress, right? Right? Well, you feel strongly about.
Yes, I'm not acting. But
Yeah. Good. Well, either way, it was convincing. Now, how will the Trump administration affect the environment? And, it's rather difficult to I'm not going to candy coat this, you know. There was no secret that when then candidate Trump was campaigning, he said exactly what he was going to do about Paris Accord and the Obama's administration of using the executive order to stretch the EPA beyond all recognition, which was, you know, slapped back by the courts many times. And he said he was going to cut it back, and he won. Right? So I know that's tough for a lot of people to take, but he's only doing what he said he was going to do. And so now you have 4 years to, if you feel that you have a better environmental candidate, to put her forward or him forward and defeat President Trump's re-election bid. But let's talk about your speech. You know, that's sort of the big picture, you know. Yeah. You said the environment is something we take for granted. You said it's indisputable a fact, though, that our environment is declining. And I wrote down here, really? Fascinating claim. I didn't hear any evidence or citation to prove that. The evidence that I've seen has been sort of the other way, that we've heard, you know, outliers like Flint water and stuff like that, but the air in some cases overall has gotten cleaner and so forth. So you needed to prove that. I know that the environmentalists, especially the people in the climate change business, the Al Gore contingency, like to use fear of the sky is going to fall if we don't take action immediately, right? And but those are assertions, and if you're going to make those assertions, you need to have evidence to back it up. So you claim our nation may be jeopardizing our future. Okay, so again, that's an assertion. So let's go to your thesis. First off, a little housekeeping, and this is for all of you folks. When you, in your thesis preview, when you take a position, your position was President Trump's administration will have a direct effect, a negative effect on the environment. And you needed to say, I'm going to prove this in 3 ways. You need to give a specific preview that's brief, that says, first, by budget cuts, secondly, by not making it a priority, and thirdly, by just a brief teaser.
Okay, so I think like the next paragraph or the next sentence, I said I'll give you 3 reasons, but do you want me to say I'll give you 3 reasons and say the reasons?
Say the reasons
concisely?
briefly
Okay.
and a teaser. Yeah, just so we know your narrative right then and there, and we can follow it.
Okay.
And so then when you're giving your significant statement, let me not be all negative here, was good. You said it affects all of our lives, our children's lives, and that involves your audience. So I thought that was a good, significant statement. Yeah. So, not to put too fine a point on it, but your delivery was passionate and fast and kind of all the same. So I'd like to see you work on a variety of style, a vocal variety of sometimes you slow down, sometimes you emphasize some key words, you know, because otherwise it's all just passion, and you start at a pretty high level. I didn't know how we were ever going to, where do you go from a high level of passion in the beginning? I didn't got it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to build to a climax kind of thing, yeah. So I think I know you, well, I'm being presumptuous, but I believe you do not like President Trump and or his policy, but I believe it helps your credibility to refer to him as President Trump, and the Trump administration was good. I think Trump is disrespectful, and I did the same correction in this class when people called it Bush and people called it Obama. I said it's President Obama and it's President Bush, just for the respect to the office. And that resounds on you and your credibility and your classiness. Okay. So you said that he has made cuts to the environmental budget. Mm-hmm. And you said he cut 12% from the interior budget, and what is this going to look like? And you said 4,000 jobs are lost, and that sounds like a lot, I guess. We don't know if they're essential, crucial, what it's going to mean. It could lose more specificity there.
Okay.
This advisory panel is gone. And your best quote was his 2018 budget calls for even more cuts, and 31% cut, said to be decreased by 31%, and we needed a footnote on that or a citation to tell us where that quote came from.
Okay, I think it was from the initial, I think it was the National Geographic, which was cited on the other page, but I should just say it again. Just to
Yeah, say it again,
okay.
and say it, in the National Geographic concluded that the budget is set to decrease 31% because people can't read your footnotes and remember all your citations.
Okay.
So let's remember to fully cite our evidence. Your second reason is his lack of environmental enforcement, and the executive director of environmental integrity calls this the weakest start of any we've seen in 24 years. I don't know about. I'm being a critical thinker here. I don't know about how. I agree the enforcement is down, but I don't know about that person as a person of judgment to judge it. Here's an example, folks, of what I want you to notice. You made the claim, right, that he has filled the administration and cabinet with outwardly deniers of climate science. Right? You made that assertion, right?
Yes.
And then you said, according to the Wall Street Journal, right?
Yes.
Article in January of, I guess, this year. Yeah, okay. The quote said, the Trump administration is requiring tougher standards for coal mining near rivers, which sets new standards for emissions of methane from oil and natural gas well on federal lands. That doesn't say that he stocked his administration with climate deniers. I know I'm being anal, but it doesn't really
Except
say.
that wasn't the Wall Street Journal quote.
That wasn't the quote. Okay.
The Wall Street Journal said the latter portion about the coal mining, and then the previous statement about filling this cabinet was from the second.
Okay.
So those were two separate sources. But I should have made that clear.
You should have made it clear. It sounded like you were quoting the Wall Street Journal saying that.
The Wall Street Journal was just for that.
Who said that? That
The
he was
second
stocking?
source. I think it was the Monthly Review Press.
Okay, the Monthly Review Press. Okay,
So
good.
they were separate.
Okay, good.
But yes.
So that was confusing.
Okay, got it.
Okay. And pulling out of the Paris Accord, the job killer. By the way, the reason I'm sort of giving you a hard time on this is in the spring every year I give a class on argumentation and climate change. And so the students are forced to argue both sides of this. And so one of the things we argued last spring when I gave the course was that there's some pretty good evidence, including people from the environmental movement, that thought that the Paris Accord was bad, and that there was absolutely no impact to the U.S. pulling out of it except sort of a symbolic thing. And it was a job killer. But, I'm just
Okay, yeah.
giving you some stuff on this. And so you're all just assuming that because President Trump said it, it's stupid and wrong and bad. Right?
I mean, not necessarily.
Yeah, not necessarily. Yeah.
I mean, no, just to follow the question.
Yeah.
It goes about his administration, so but
Got
not
it.
saying it's
Yeah.
all his
Okay,
fault.
good. Right. So you made 3 good points that were well documented, and they were well researched. You did your research well. Your summary was good, your conclusion was good, and your tieback was good. Let's go to your canais or your goal. You said, I want to inform my audience about the potential threat of the Trump administration will have on the future of our environment. Be clear and concise with the breakdown of my arguments and be persuasive in my speech delivery. How did it go?
You tell me.
Well, I'm asking. Well, I asked you first to comment
no, I
on
think-
how well you felt you met your goals.
I know I've left out. There's some sentences and portions that I
Yeah.
skipped.
Yeah.
Like at the tieback, I didn't specifically like in my paper. I have my tieback, but I didn't
Right.
say the tieback. I just
Right.
brushed through it.
Yeah.
So that would be my disappointment. But besides that, I think.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
And what? After all having what I said, I don't want you to misunderstand me. I like your speech, and I don't want you to lose when you have a passion for a topic like you have, ever to lose that, because it's very persuasive. But if you can temper it and make it a little bit more nuanced, it'll be even more persuasive.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's hear from Anita.
That's me.
Lucky Anita. See Anita? Oh, and she's got it nicely typed up. She's got it in Chicago style with the footnotes at the bottom. Let's see if she's got the Chicago bibliography correct. Yeah, and she's got her goals in the back. And yes, her references are Chicago style. Very good. Okay, you're a little different size than the last speaker. Let me get you adjusted. Okay. Anita stands before you in the power stance, feet wider than your shoulders so you don't sway. Kind of lock your knees so you don't sway. Yeah. Managing attention. Okay, quit writing. Look up. Pretend to be interested. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, my name is Anita.
Hi, Anita.
So according to Joe Ranizzi, on his opiate crisis fueled by drug industry in Congress, he states that this is an industry that allowed millions and millions of drugs to go into bad companies, to go into bad pharmacies and doctors' offices. And those were distributed into people that didn't have any legitimate excuse needing these medications. And the industry is doing whatever it wants, and it's not taking into any consideration that people are dying.
Excellent.
According to McGee and Silberman, 2015, on the article on treatment agreements, states that 100 people die every day in the United States, and 3/4 of these deaths that are occurring are due to the pain medication. So I just want to define a little bit opioid prescriptions. I'm trying to, when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about things that are related to cancer and non-cancer pain. Medications such as hydrocodone, oxycodone, methadone, codeine. And so today, this is going to be the topic of my question. Should the U.S. increase regulations on opiate prescriptions? My position on this is that yes, I believe that they should increase regulations. It's due to, one, the distributors are pumping too much medication into pharmacies and clinics. Two, pharmacies are giving medications out too easily. And the third reason is physicians are prescribing opiate prescriptions for non-medical use.
Great.
So this is a very serious issue that needs to be addressed very quickly. This has become the deadliest drug overdose in U.S. history. Okay, my first reason is why the U.S. should increase regulations is due to the main tie is the distributors are turning to the blind eye to pain medication. According to René Zizi in 2017, Opioid Crisis Fueled by Companies in Congress, he states that large pharmaceutical companies were pumping drugs into companies they were knowingly killing people, basically. They saw distributors shipping thousands of suspicious orders. In 2008, the DEA slapped fine on McKesson, which is one of the largest pharmaceutical distributor companies, of a $13.2 million fine. And that same year, Cardinal Health, which is another distributor company as well, was fined $34 million. Both of these companies were fined by the DEA for filling hundreds of suspicious orders, millions of pills. Since these distributor companies are turning the blind eye, they're not paying attention to where these medications are going out to and what pharmacies and clinics are doing with these medications. So this leads to many problems with people becoming addicted to this, addicted to these painkillers. They're not being able to meet social and work obligations due to this. They spend most of their time trying to seek for these medications. I personally work in a pharmacy, and so most of these people that come in, a large percentage are coming and seeking pain medications. And some of them are even coming early to get these medications. My pharmacist catches so many of trying to fill medications that they got a week ago, like a quantity of 90, for instance. And so they're not taking any, they build these tolerances on these medications, and they're not taking into consideration the harm that it does on their bodies and the world around them. According to Valkel in 2016 Opiate Abuse and Chronic Pain article, he states that addiction develops slowly, usually only after months of use. And then once addiction develops, it becomes your own like chronic illness, basically. And to be able to overcome this is you can't just discontinue it right away, and there's going to be a high risk of relapse over years without proper treatment. My second reason is that pharmacies are giving medications out too easily. They're not taking into consideration or any that what it might do and what it might harm, the harm that it does to people. According to René Zizi, 2017 on Opiate Crisis Fueled by Drug Distributors in Congress states a town in Kerman, West Virginia was a town of 392 people only, but within 2 years they found that this company was basically trying to get 9 million hydrocodone pills within 2 years. So you're wondering where all these pills are going to. Are they, just easily giving it out to people and taking into consideration that, people need it or not, or if they're too soon, or prescriptions are forged. This can have dangerous consequences with the world around them because it leads to cardiovascular issues for the person, decreased cognitive function, crime rates increase with along usage of these. Car accidents, for instance, there was a story where a family of 5 died at 6 in the morning because of a car accident. They were on their way to Disneyland, and the guy that was driving that crashed into them was stated that he was on opiate prescriptions. So it's problems like these that these distributor companies or pharmacies or physicians aren't taking into consideration that it is affecting the world around them. My third reason is that physicians are writing opiate prescriptions to people who don't need it, who don't have pain. These prescriptions can be prescribed to them for reasons such as anxiety, distress, or even getting high. So if physicians are writing these prescriptions, it just makes it even easier for people to go out and seek for these medications. According to DART, et al. In 2015, trends in opiate analgesic abuse, an estimated of 25 million people were using these medications non-medically from 2002 to 2011. And due to this, there's so many ER visits. There's too many overdoses, people dying all the time. According to Root, increases on drug overdose deaths in 2016 states that opiates, primary prescriptions for painkillers, and heroin are the main drugs that are associated with these overdose deaths. In 2014, opiates were the main cause, 61% of the drug overdose deaths, and it tripled since 2000. So now these are the 3 reasons why I believe that the U.S. should increase regulations due to the distributors not carrying, pharmacies giving out medications so easily, and physicians prescribing these opiate pills. There should be no doubt in this room that the U.S. should increase regulations on this. This is an industry that allowed millions and millions of drugs to go into bad pharmacies and doctors' offices that distributed them out to people who had no legitimate excuse for these drugs.
Thank you. Okay, we're somewhere in the rear for another positive question. Where are we? I guess here, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
I thought you had a lot of really good meat to your speech, a lot of good substance, and at one point you talked about how you personally work in a pharmacy, and I thought that made it your credibility go up, and it seemed more valid when you had that personal connection to it.
Someone's starting to read the sticky text and notice that statistics can be dry but can be enhanced with a really quick story, and she told 2 stories for free. And, the Disneyland story was good too. And, you remember stories above the statistics. Improvement, please.
Hi, I'm Ciela.
Hi, Ciela.
So I agree with Kelsey. I thought you were really good. It was great that you had all this background knowledge, but because we had the time constraints, because you had so much background knowledge, I feel it was hard for you to find a stop, and I feel I would have the same problem. So I think just ranking what's important and what's not, but honestly I felt everything you said was important, so I don't know how you would get it in that 5 minutes, but I think you did a good job.
What was the time?
7 minutes and 50 seconds.
Oh my God, 8 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So you really went on. Hey, Anita? Okay, well, Anita had a lot to say. All right. I apologize to everyone for not stating the question, whether the U.S. should increase regulation on opiate prescriptions, whether the U.S. should increase regulations on opiate prescriptions. The one big picture place I would start, Anita, when you're given a question like this is, what regulations do we have now and why ain't they working? And the quick answer, because you went way over, so I'm not going to run the clock over this, but the quick answer is there ain't any. The manufacturers bought out Congress and managed to gut all the laws that dealt with opiate enforcement. They got rid of all the watchdogs, all the laws that made the pharmacists report suspicious activities, and there hasn't been a doctor prosecuted in the last 2 years because those companies that you cited there, what was it, McKesson and Cardinal? Boy, those people are going to go to hell, I'll tell you. Who's the other big one? What's the other big one? Anyway, they bought Congress out, folks, and they got the laws repealed, so they now can do whatever they want. It's free for all. in the opiate world, and they're going crazy. So you were kind of on your track there with it, but you needed to sort of start with that story and say, do we need to increase regulations? Hell yes. We don't have any. They've been gutted by and co-opted by McKesson and Cardinal and the other manufacturers. Okay. So that's the big picture thing I would have done differently. Let me say a positive thing before I quickly go through the minutia. I want to second the comment about using the stories. The stories about people coming in early for their prescriptions. The Disney land-bound family. There are a lot of stories and tragedies. Families whose sons and daughters are gone now. You know, people that, you know, got a football injury or a little back injury at work, and the doctor said, "Oh, yeah." And the industry went to Congress and said, "These oxycodons are not addictive. We've done tests. You don't have to worry about addiction." Liars. Wrong. So it's just, these people are, if there's hell, they're going to it. So, your introduction was excellent, a little long, but excellent. You talked about all the deaths, and 3 out of the 4 of the deaths that are caused by it, and that was really good. You needed to more quickly get to your question, and then your answer was good, except for the part I told you about dealing more with the what I call the legal inherency, the structural inherency, the lack of laws to enforce now that we need more regulations. And by the way, President Trump had appointed the guy that authored the repeal of the laws to be the new drug czar. And when the story came out about him, President Trump, to his credit, pulled him out of running for the position. So he said, no, this guy is damaged goods. So that was good. On the blind eye, yes, that was good. One thing I want to say about your statistics about the fines they pay, I think that was a little misleading to your audience because it sounded like there's enforcement going on, and hey, we're fining these people. Wrong. These are old fines. This is way back in 2008 before they co-opted all the laws. So be careful about presenting stuff like that that's outdated and misleading to the current situation. Bad pharmacies was good. Your third reason was excellent, and your summary, conclusion, and tieback were all good. Your references were really good. Your canais, make good eye contact. Wow. Be confident, don't exceed the time of it. Okay, well, let's talk about those 3. Talk to me, Anita. How'd it go?
Well, I was nervous.
Yes, okay, so
I think that
hurt the confidence a little?
Yeah, it hurt the confidence, and then that's also what caused my time limit to go over, too. I think you just start blamming on so many stuff. Eye contact, I think it can be improved, but I think I was looking around and making eye contact around.
Yeah, let me say something about that. Those cards in your hand hurt the eye contact, so the less you look down and the more you don't need them at all, the more you can really make 3 to 5 seconds of good eye contact with people who really do a good job with your eye contact. As for the time limit, you really need to time this under battle conditions. Practice during your speech and having somebody hear it and time it. And you would know, as the young lady with the Apple Watch on her wrist said, you just had so much you wanted to share, and it all was pretty good stuff that you just kept going. But you need to learn to edit and take stuff out. But one thing I want you to really learn is when you're asked to, do we need increased regulations, the very first place you go is, well, what are the regulations now and why aren't they working? That's a real first step in your conceptual analysis, okay? Nice job, Anita. I think your 2017 research was excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any more volunteers? Oh, you're volunteering. Yeah.
No, I have a question. I don't know if you already spoke on this because I wasn't here the first 2 weeks, but how is like the timing working? Because I know like some people are under, some people are like, I know like the target is like 5, but like what are the consequences?
I take 5 points off of your score.
If you're under or over?
If you're over. If you're way under, I deduct some points too. But if you're 4 or more, it's fine. But
Okay.
if
So
you're
maybe
three,
you're
or
like
if you're
5.
3 or 2,
What if
then
you're within 5?
What if you're like 5 minutes?
5 minutes and 20 seconds, like that's fine. I say 5 minutes. I give you 15-minute grace period. You took an extra 15 seconds. I'm not going to be an a-hole and say, oh, you're losing 5 points. But that's ridiculous. But you lost some points for 8 minutes. Sorry, Anita. Well, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Okay, we need to get on to the next person. So, do we have a volunteer? Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, good. Excellente. We love volunteers. Thank you.
Also, just like a time thing, we had, because you want to talk about the midterms. So.
Yeah, okay, so we got to get through this one quickly. Okay, Angela. How's my timer? Let's see, let me get you. Okay, Angela, take a half step that way. Okay. Angela stands before us on October 24th, Tuesday, to give us her Extemp speech on the war on drugs, right? And the question is the war on drugs back on? Right? Is the war on drugs back on? Rock and roll there, Angela.
Okay, so hi, my name is Angela.
Hi, Angela.
So by a show of hands, how many of you guys know someone or have a loved one who's affected by drug use? So I also have a loved one who's affected by drug use, and as you all know, it doesn't only affect them, but it affects everyone around them.
Good.
So today I'm here to answer the question, is the war on drugs back on? And my answer is it most definitely is, because of 3 reasons I shall state. The first reason is because of the shift we saw from the Obama administration to the Trump administration, which I'll later explain. My second reason is because President Trump passed an executive order combating the issue. And my last reason is because we see proof with the statistics and the amount of budget we're setting forth for it. So it's significant to understand that the war on drugs is back on because drug use doesn't just affect the individual, but it affects every American. It affects the economy, it affects the healthcare system, and it really affects the country as a whole. So my first reason why I believe the war on drugs is back on, because according to the Washington Post, written in 2017, it states the differences between President Obama and President Trump. So President Obama really wanted to restore order and go with a health-based strategy. So he was focusing on treatment, preventative methods, and that's also why he passed the Affordable Care Act. He wanted to make sure every person had the option to get the help they need, the therapy they need, mental health ways to improve their health, And he also wanted to get out low-level drug offenders out of the criminal justice system and into treatment. And although President Trump didn't defund the amount of money we're going to set forth to battle the war on drugs, he stated that he believed the criminal justice system alone would solve the issue. So essentially he just thought, send everyone to jail, send everyone to prison, that will resolve it. So my first reason why I believe the war on drugs is back on is because of the shift we saw from the presidencies. So my second reason why I believe the war on drugs is back on, because according to Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Weekly, an article written on April 3, 2017, it states that on March 29, President Trump passed an executive order combating drug use and the opioid crisis. So in the executive order, he set for his commission to seek out and see the availability people have near them to seek the help that they needed. He asked for them to see whether inspirational messages that were being given out to youth and adults, how well they're working. He wanted them to see the effectiveness of it. He also wanted them to look at federal drug monitoring programs to see how well they work. So essentially they were set out to find all those things and report back and also give feedback as to what else could be done. So my second reason why I believe the war on drugs is back on is because President Trump passed an executive order regarding the issue. So my third reason why I believe the war on drugs is back on is because we're spending billions of dollars at the issue at hand, and it only makes sense that had we not been in the war on drugs, we wouldn't be using so much money to solve the issue. And also, according to the Federal Bureau of Prisons, 46.3% of all inmates are in there for a drug-related offense. So my third reason why I believe the war on drugs is back on is because we're spending so much money on the issue, and we're also seeing evidence of the statistics that are performed every year in our prisons and also the budget, as I mentioned. So in summary, I showed you 3 reasons why I believe the war on drugs is back on. For one, because of the shift we saw from the Obama administration to the Trump administration. The second reason, because President Trump passed an executive order regarding the issue. And the third reason, because we see evidence in the statistics that are performed every year. So there should be no doubt in this room that the war on drugs is back on. Drug use doesn't only affect the individual, as we all know. It doesn't just affect our loved ones. And as long as the problem exists, the government is going to have to be in a war on drugs to solve the issue.
Thank you. Okay, stay in the college fans. Get back in the center of the room. Thank you. Angela, quickly. Yes, sir. Excuse me.
Hi guys, my name's Philip.
Hi, Philip.
Hi,
I
Philip.
thought you did, even though you have the note cards, I rarely saw you ever look at them.
Yeah, you didn't need it.
Just didn't need it at all. And I thought you made really good eye
Just
contact.
in case I stumbled.
Yeah, put it in your pocket. Yeah, improvement.
Okay. Hello, my name's Steve.
Hi, Steve.
I thought it was a very good speech, but I thought your first point could be explained a little better. The transition between Obama to Trump administration. It kind of sounded like a slippery slope. So a little more analysis is a little better.
Good. Quickly, because I got to get you talking about the sticky thing. What? What was the time?
I'm just wondering.
It was 4 minutes and 13 seconds.
4 minutes and 13 seconds. So you had a whole minute. I like the show of hands. You got your audience to participate, and you tied back nicely, showing you understand that concept. The war on drugs is back on. Well, I guess so. I'm going to tell you, you kind of proved it, but your evidence was sort of contradictory, and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. But yeah, you had a good preview, and I like that. So you had a good thesis, a good preview. It was real clear what your position was. It's back on, and here's why. That was good. My suggestion for your significant statement is the same thing I've said to everyone. Try to do what you did, but say something to this group. You've known people in the fraternities, sororities, blah, 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 whatever, that, they're using this stuff, or whatever, and You know, this junk. Yeah. Yeah, whatever. I don't know, but something more to specifically bring in the audience a tad more. Well, yeah. I agree. It's Steve, right?
Yes.
Steven?
Steve.
Steve. Don't call me Steven. Okay, Steve. Steve said you needed a little more analysis on your first point. But I agree with you. It's real clear that President Obama's approach to balance, health-based, use the Affordable Care Act, give addiction treatment, education, this sort of thing, and let drug offenders, nonviolent people out of prison was their approach. And it looks like the President Trump is not really embracing that whole approach. He's trying to repeal Obamacare. He's trying to get rid of the Medicaid expansion. And your best evidence was he defunded the Office of National Drug Control Policy. Now, I don't know if this is a direct quote. The administration appears to think narcotic controls can be achieved entirely through the tool of criminal justice. Is that a quote?
Yes.
Okay, that's a quote. Okay. From Danielle Allen. Danielle Allen? Okay, whatever. Okay, so, cool. We got your first point. Now, here was my problem. Your second point was you said that President Trump issued an executive order, and from that you said, hey, this is proof he's looking at he's upping the war on drugs because he issued an executive order. Not really. Your own evidence said that his executive order said, let's look at all the educational programs and come back and report to me which ones work and which ones don't, so we know which ones we can continue to fund. That doesn't sound like a president that's relying strictly on the criminal justice system alone. So I was a little troubled by the tension between those two pieces of evidence.
The first part of the evidence wasn't like he hadn't made any action yet. It was just his initial approach to the issue.
Yeah.
Then afterwards, the second point is that he decided to pass an executive order and ask his commission to do all those tasks.
Right. To come back with a report on which educational programs work and don't work so he can decide which ones to fund. That doesn't sound like relying on the criminal justice system alone. There's tension between your first point and your second point. That's my only issue, okay? So, but I see why you said that sort of looks like the war is back on. On the third one, you quoted the Bureau of Prisons, and the only thing you talked about was 46.3 of all inmates are incarcerated for drug offenses. It's an old statistic, and this debater over here will love to debate you on that statistic. And but this is you're right on one level. President Obama was trying to lower that statistic, and whether President Trump will be as amenable to letting the so-called victimless crimes out is another question. Your summary was good, your conclusion was good, and your tie-back was excellent. Your canais, that's my tongue, ooh boy. Make adequate eye contact, walk 3 times, and don't go over the 5 minutes. How'd it go?
Pretty good, I think.
Yeah. I think you did a good job, except for the tension between your first and second point. You clearly practiced it. You're a very likable speaker. And you did your research, and I like that very much. So thank you very much. Okay. here's your sticky, here, this is a folder, I forgot to give you some last folder. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, here's your Christmas present. Okay, this, we have a whole rest of the quarter to work on this. This is due the last meeting. Okay, send me back the extras, okay? There's two parts to this exam. Everyone ready? There's two parts to this exam. There's the comprehension of the theory. Very good, you can hear this. You can hear this. I'll put it on here. There's, thank you so much. I'm first asking you to show that you comprehend the theory of stickiness that the two Stanford authors have presented. And that's done in the first 8 questions. Okay? And then the second big part of the question is that you apply the theory in application. And what I ask you to do is you take an Extemp speech and you take your first Extemp speech and you revise it and you present it and you incorporate the principles of the 8 principles of stickiness that you have there, and you show how you could make it even more sticky and improve it by using the principles of stickiness. Now, next week, when we have more time, I'll pass around an A paper to show you how it was set up. But it takes about, let's just be honest about it, it takes about 3 paragraphs to cover the theory adequately, unless you're really good. It takes, and then for each question, I want 2 examples. So for each question, it takes 5 paragraphs, okay? 3 to explain the theory, and 2 examples. So that's 5. And you label them with headers so that it's clear what you're doing, okay? And the questions are very self-explanatory, and you will see as you get into the text, this is, by the way, if you don't have the text, this is the most recent edition. You need the one that has the epilogue in it. So if you haven't purchased the book yet, get the one with the epilogue. And if you're having trouble finding that or something, I think, I already did, but maybe I'll be able to, I'll put the epilogue on, because it's hard to find this and that. I'll put the epilogue on the class website so you can read the epilogue if you can't find the edition with the epilogue. Okay? All right?
Oh.
Yes, stand up for your question. Say your name.
Hi, my name is Armand.
Hi, Armand.
Amazon sells the most recent edition.
Nice.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Okay. Yes, sir.
Was this like 9 different essays?
Yeah.
Okay.
8 different essays, and then you take your step quiz and you write the 9th one. Yeah.
When did you say
9
it's
essays.
again?
10th week Tuesday. Do 10th week Tuesday. Yes, please.
Where did you go?
Stand up. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Candace.
Hi,
Can
Candace.
you let us know about our topic for our paper that's due on the final day of class?
Let you know? No, you're letting me know.
Yeah, I emailed you. When are you going to let us know?
And I didn't respond?
No.
Well, I'm rude. Okay, email me again and I will respond.
Okay.
Candace asked an important question. You need to choose a public policy question and email me the wording of it, and I need to look at it and say, yes, Candace, That is a good topic. The wording is fine. Go for it. Since we have a moment here, and we're way over time, but what was your question?
I was gonna ask if it was okay to write about global warming.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's so big, broad, and general. I would have written back to you, I would have given you 9 subtopics that we debate in my 102 course and said you can choose one of these 9 to write about, like fracking or predictive ability of, or tornadoes or some smaller aspect. It's so massive.
Okay, I'll email you again.
Okay. Yes, please.
The number 2.
Stand up.
Sorry, Chloe. Hi.
Hi, Chloe.
Our number 2, our second Extemp speech. Do you know when? Like, do you have a date?
Yeah, we're gonna start zipping through these, and the second we're done with all of the first, we'll get into the second. And those of you, just so you'll know, plan to write out and do this. Thank you. It's important. You can socialize later. The second and third, do them, research them, and write them out completely. And even if we do not deliver them, I still am going to collect them 10th week. And you will be required to turn in all 3, whether you deliver them or not. And I will still judge them on the quality of your research, etc. And for example, as I did today with yours, when your assertion didn't appear to match your evidence didn't appear to match your assertion, that sort of thing. I would take points off for that, stuff like that. Yes, Armand. Yes, Armand too.
Should we expect or plan to present our second extemporary speech next week?
Sure. You've done your first, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, be ready next week. Sure. And we'll zip through them quickly. I will shorten the critiques, and we'll start right at the top of the hour. Okay. Return with honor. I'll see you back over there. Yes.
I had a question just on recommended to.
Oh boy.